Orlando Bennett and Tyler Mason continue to build Jamaica's reputation in the sprint hurdles. On a dramatic day at the World Championships in Tokyo, the Jamaicans mining silver and bronze. I tell you what, all this and more to discuss on the Sports Club podcast here at the Jamaica Observer. I'm Donald Oliver. It starts right now. Hello and welcome to the Sports Club podcast here at the Jamaica Observer. I'm Donald Oliver. Wow, what an eventful day to speak about. And here with me in studio, of course, Leighton Levy.
Listen, if anybody had said to me that Hansel Parchment and Rashid Broadwell not on the team, you would think that we'd get with two medals in the hurdles. I'd be saying you're crazy. But here we are. Outstanding performances from our young hurdlers, Orlando Bennett and Tyler Mason, who made me almost cry this morning.
Almost.
Because his story is such a story about resilience, overcoming obstacles, about 11 years of nightmare disasters, injuries, surgery, setbacks, and to come and to fill in and end up with a bronze medal.
Yeah.
Going into the final with the fastest time and equaling that time in the final, absolutely amazing performances.
Trishana McGowan is also here in studio with me. Trish, what a day today.
Absolutely, an amazing day, which we'll discuss further about the two hurdlers. But I want to acknowledge that they are relatively young hurdlers. We have seen them before at World Championships and also for Orlando Bennett at the Olympic Games. But credit to the two relatively young coaches, Ronaldo Walcott coaching Tyler Mason, and Craig Sewell, the coach of Orlando Bennett. Again, relatively young. And I know that medal, that silver medal, doesn't just mean a lot to Orlando Bennett, but to Craig Sewell, both formerly of Calabar, in different era, of course.
And Daniel Blake is also here. Daniel, talk to me. How are you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Adding two medals to the pool. We have Rusheen McDonald in the 400 final, so Nikisha Price as well, and Shanika Ricketts and Akeelia Smith in the triple jump. So I think it's a very good day for us, and to me, somewhat of a historic day in the men's 110 hurdles. So, it's hard to have anything to complain about today.
All right, so now it's time to join our friend or brother in Tokyo on location, looking at all the festivities, all the happenings, and of course, all the gold, silver, and bronze medals we are mining in Tokyo. Andre, another fabulous day for Jamaica at these World Championships. How much of a surprise was it for you that we're able to get silver and bronze through Orlando Bennett and Tyler Mason?
Yeah, Donald, thanks, and welcome back to Tokyo. Honestly, yeah. A little surprised, honestly. Certainly coming into the championship, I did not anticipate or expect that both Tyler and Orlando would medal in this event. I think after the first round, though, it became quite clear that both had an opportunity to work themselves on the podium. They were confident, they were running well, running good times, and of course, the competition, a lot of the persons we expected to, take control of this event, they just were not showing that, right? And our boys really were in the ascendancy. And after the semi-final, it was up to them to really execute. And I was very confident that once they ran close to what they ran in the semi-finals, they would certainly get on the podium. And, very, very, very good results for them. Really happy for both gentlemen. They have been through a lot. And we have said that, we have spoken about that, written about that throughout these championships, and you'll see it in tomorrow's story in the Observer as well, that, it's just really a point of redemption for both of them, and, very good performances all around.
Yeah, the story of Tyler Mason is a unique one because of the struggles that he has had throughout the years. Can you put into context how much this bronze medal would mean to him?
Yeah, and actually that's something we spoke about after the event. In 2014 in Eugene at the World Under-20 Championships, he won silver. And like we spoke about, but like we said yesterday, in yesterday's show, Tyler at that point was seen as, one of our most promising young athletes. He must have thought, the world is his for the taking, right? Did not go that way. It has been a decade of, disappointments and uncertainties and doubt, moving from coach to coach. And he said, landing and, finding Coach Ronaldo Walcott was like a lifesaver for him, right? Walcott was very invested in his development. Walcott, he says, has been tracking him from he was a junior and, knew exactly how to connect with him, right? They worked on his speed. He wasn't very fast. He got the speed, and then he was getting to the hurdles too quick. So they had to adjust his technique. And it took some time, but, here we are right now, a career resurrected. It means the world to him, right? He has sacrificed a lot, done surgeries, struggled through injuries, and now he has a World Championships bronze medal. Means that, he can continue to dream and continue to perhaps have, a long and successful career, which at one point seemed like something that's impossible. So big deal, very happy for him. He's really one of the most genuine and very nice young man, and couldn't have been happier.
Yeah, let's talk about the 400 meters quickly, because two of our athletes are through. Rusheen McDonald on the men's side, Nikisha Price on the women's side.
Yeah, pretty good showing from Rusheen McDonald. He just always seems to be there. And of course, Nikisha Price had to work for that one, but she's safely through to the final. You kind of expected that as well. She's pretty fast and, consistently runs fast times. Rusheen, again, very happy for him. Perhaps one of the most maligned athletes in Jamaica, and for no reason really. But people like to give him a hard time, right? But one thing with Rusheen, he gets on the teams and he does what he's supposed to. He gives his best. He has been a picture of confidence since we arrived here. He has always been saying from day one, listen, I am getting in that final and I'm going to run fast, right? 44.0, I think his season best. So, he's showing to be in good shape. He spent a lot to get into the final. We really do hope that he can recover well and come back and, produce a good time. He says he wants to get down to 43 here, and he's going to get down to 43 here. Of course, ran 43 seconds last season. Hasn't done so yet, but he is on target, he says, and excited about the opportunity to do that in the final, right? I wouldn't rule him out. I wouldn't bet against him. Nikisha certainly has been doing well. She hasn't spoken a lot since she has been here, but that's her nature. She's a very shy young lady. But 49.4, I think, 49.5. Again, a season best for her. So she's also, rounding into the sort of form that she wants to be in, getting into a final, right? And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Sydney and Salwa are at a different level right now, right? But once you get into the final, anything is possible. Can she get onto the podium? It's going to be a challenge, but she certainly can. Of course, Stacy and Williams, very disappointed, naturally. She ran her personal best in the previous round and perhaps just didn't have enough to push again for the final. So she was very disappointed. Young Oakley, just happy to be here, right? And taking the experience and learn from it and grow. Right, Delano Kennedy and Bovell McPherson on the men's side, again, both wanted to do more, but they are, realistic about where they are and about what they can accomplish in the future. So, all in all, I think a very good exercise for our quarter milers. Good to see we'll have representation in both the men and the female final, and left to be seen, what we can accomplish there.
Yes, Andre, and let's talk about a bit of news that's been breaking about Oblique Seville and the fact that he's expected to do surgery on his toe in the coming weeks. You spoke with his coach, Glenn Mills, who actually says that Oblique doesn't necessarily have a mental problem. He doesn't have a psychological issue, but it has been all a physical issue down to his performances in the past and, of course, leading up to his gold medal here. Before I come to you on your reaction, let's hear exactly what Coach Glenn Mills had to say.
People believe that because he doesn't get a medal, something's wrong with his head and all that nonsense. My greatest challenge was to keep him focused and not to pay attention to what is being said. Because if you keep hearing and reading about it over and over, after a while it may make an impact on you. But he's a very fierce competitor and a solid guy. And I'm happy that he was able to accomplish the mission this time, and it will certainly put to rest all the speculation and nonsense about him.
Where do you see him moving forward from here? Because I remember some time ago you told us, like you've just suggested too, that his challenge has always been, just his body sustaining the workload and stuff like that. Now that he's healthy, where do you see his development going in the future?
Healthy with a question mark, because he still has two major problems that affects him. Although he won the world championship, he's less than 100%. Going forward, though, once we're able to solve the problem, well, one of them, when he comes back, he's going to do an operation on his toe, and that will be successful, so that he can now be able to train without pain and run the turn effectively.
Yeah, Andre, several stuff to get out of that interview, but that was the main headline out of it. That's some big news.
Yeah, quite an interesting bit of news. I think we've always had an understanding, an appreciation for the challenges around obliques training, right? Coach Mills has never been shy, when explaining that physically it's difficult. It has been difficult for oblique to go through the training program and recover in time, or run very fast and recover in time. But he has never actually expressed the extent of some of these challenges. The toe situation is new to most of us, right? And now, of course, hearing that he will be doing surgery at the end of the season, and that procedure is expected to help him to train better, because he has been training in pain for years. And, these are things that a lot of people don't know. And, sometimes I think, are a bit too eager and too quick to criticize our athletes and stuff without knowing what they're going through. So he has not been able to train effectively for all these years. And they're hoping that fixing this problem will allow him to execute his programs, complete his programs better. And of course, one of the things that Coach Mills told me is that is very interested in getting him to run more international races, and of course getting him to run more 200-meter races. He believes obliques 200 meters can be as good as his 100 meters. And he's at 9.77 right now, and my good friend Leighton there beside you will tell you, he's very good at these calculations, that 9.77 should translate to about 19.5 in the 200 meters. Coach Mills thinks that he's going to develop into an excellent, a really, really good 200-meter athlete. But to do so, they must fix the problem with his toe. And that's going to be done immediately at the end of the season to give him enough time to recover and start his preparation for 2026. So, yeah, quite revealing stuff. Gives a lot of insight and perspective, in what, as it relates to what Oblique has been going through, what he has had to endure, and certainly paints a different picture from the one that many persons perhaps had of the young man. But besides that, I think some of the other things to take away from the discussion was that Coach Mills has said that he believes that Oblique has done extremely well over the years, even though he has been criticized about, by the, some members of the public about not winning a medal. Coach Mills has always felt that he's an excellent competitor. It's just that, he has had to deal with some challenges at bad times. And but he spoke to his attitude. He spoke to the fact that he believes he's a fierce competitor, and that this is going to set him up for even greater things to come. He believes that he's much faster than 9.77, and if that's the case, then some exciting times are ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go for now, Andre. But thanks so much for your time on this and spending some time with us here at the Sports Club podcast.
Yeah, big up yourself, man. Oh, by the way, every day we seem to be standing somewhere else. Right now, we're actually in the main press center, and this is where most of us, or some of us, come to work throughout the day, and after the championships, during the championships, there are quite a few work areas. This is perhaps the main one. It's kind of empty now, and it closes in half an hour, so gotta get out of here, guys. But always a pleasure talking to you, and I can't wait to do this again tomorrow. All right?
All right, Andre Lohr, man on location there. Again with the bit of breaking news, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But let's speak firstly about the medals that were garnered today in Tokyo in the 110-meter high hurdles. I'm going to ask you the same question, Leighton, because I'm sure in quite a few people's predictions, 2 medals from this final, really not on the bingo card.
Not really, and I didn't pick them, not because I didn't think they wouldn't do well, but when you look at what Cardell Tinch and Jacoby Tharp, and a number of hurdlers across the world were doing this season, you would have gone in thinking that you would love to see the Jamaicans in the final, but would they have a strong chance of ending up with medals? It was unlikely. Orlando Bennett ran well during the course of the season. He won the national championships. When I spoke with him, he said he was aiming for the podium. And it's always nice to have those goals. But in reality, when you look at the quality of what we ever seen, 12-7, 12-9s, 12-8s, 13-0s, Orlando Bennett had never gone there before. I mean, his best is 13-09. And so you're thinking logically, based on the data you had available, that it would probably be just beyond their reach. Tyler Mason has had a decade of setbacks. Since he won world silver in under 20 silver, I think it was in 2014, he hasn't really done much in terms of the
Just
ability to progress. He's been had a lot of promise. We know how talented he is, but injuries and all kind of different things held him back. But to see him at these championships going into the semifinals of 13-1-7 and 13-1-7, then 13-1-12, and then repeating the time in the final, Orlando Bennett's running 13-06 in the final. And had he not clipped the hurdle in the mid-race, he may very well have won. So it's a pleasant surprise, but going in, you probably wouldn't have thought it was going to be possible, given what was ahead of them prior to the championships.
Yeah, and the fact that they both ran PBs as well, quite significant, because you want to run your best race at that time.
Yeah, you do. And I think, listen, the sprint hurdles, it's not something you always get up and want to gamble, despite how an athlete will look. And that's whether for the men or the women. Sometimes it go according to plan in terms of, that favorite coming in actually walk away with the gold medal. But we have seen repeatedly, years after years, the spring of surprises in the event. Remember when Bridget crossed the line first, and then Delarine was third, and we remember those reactions. Not picking them to be on the podium, it's nothing to say we don't rate the athletes, because if that was the case, we'd be stacking medals because we rate enough of our athletes then. But the reality is, you simply, not because you're good, you have to be great on the day. And I love whenever, it's not even underdog, so to speak. I just love when our athletes rise to the occasion. They're the ones doing the work. We don't even need to believe in them or believe so they can get on the podium, frankly speaking. It's their duty to do that. And I think, for me, Orlando, resilient, he's always optimistic. And because of that optimism, he has been in the position to secure a silver medal in a personal best performance. As for Tyler Mason, I think his story, it's a lot more compelling if we're being honest.
Absolutely.
His stick-to-itiveness should be studied. Should be studied because I think there have been so many instances since high school that he could have called it quits. I don't even know if he still has a full-on sponsor.
I don't think he does.
Maybe just the support of his family, because they are really some of the backbone to what he does. And to come to this championship, he was at the World Championships in 2023, didn't factor much, but here he is, barely missed out last year to the Olympic Games in Paris. So it's not like him lack quality and just, surprise us. No. We know how good he is, and everything. A perfect opportunity presented itself for both of our hurdlers. And I'm personally happy that they were able to take full advantage of it.
You talk about faith turns sight, Daniel, in regards to Tyler Mason. Can you put into context again what this would mean to him, as well as the fact that from the optimistic point of view that you had in terms of the amount of medals that Jamaica would have garnered, this wasn't in your thought process, was it?
No, and I don't think it was in many's thought process, but it was probably in his because, as we mentioned, he has managed to persevere through a lot of things. And if you look at his growth, say, for example, in 2022, I think his personal best was 12.34, then came to the national trials and did a personal best 13.14, I believe it was, but he had lost to Orlando Bennett. And then, becoming a reserve for 2 major championships in a row, you probably start to have that self-doubt in your mind, like, can I actually do it? But even at 29, he just self-motivates himself, got himself on the team. And if you look at his performance, from his very first performance in the heats, we thought that, wow, he can run a personal best. Now, obviously, it's a stacked field, and even though Grant Holloway hasn't had a very competitive season, you look at the field and you're thinking, can he get on the podium? But it just shows that once you're able to put together a very good race in a final of the sprint hurdles, you can get on the podium. And I think his story is obviously very compelling, but knowing just his performance itself is really great.
We had a discussion with him earlier this year, and one of the things that he said to me that was instructive, now that in hindsight, is that when I asked him what his program was going to be like during the course of the season, he said he wasn't planning to compete much during the course of the season because his primary objective was, first of all, the national championships and then the world championships. Because clearly they had a plan that he would be at his best in Tokyo.
They had to make some tweaks.
Right?
Yeah.
And because of his history with injuries, I think they're probably being cautious as to not to compete too much to run the risk of running into an injury during the course of the season. And the plan seemed to have come to a logical conclusion where their objectives, where their objectives were concerned, because to not be competing during the course of the season mean that he wouldn't necessarily be earning anything.
Right.
And then to come now and set the table at the national championships, qualifying, and then going to the world championships and running consistently fast through the rounds into the final, the plan clearly worked.
Yeah, and I think when we spoke, gentlemen, about we were discussing coaches in Jamaica, and I think we said Glenn Mills was about 74, 76 thereabout.
Yeah.
Stephen Francis, an aging man, so is Paul Francis. Even though Paul think him young, But I think, when we look at the other coaches, Maurice Wilson, not that old in comparison to Glenn and Stephen. And we were crediting a lot of our coaches that we have, and I think Daniel pointed it out. We too have to be patient with a lot of the younger coaches because they too might lack limited resources, etc. I think Walcott showed his class at the minute he got Shelley to run 10.6, for example, and she got onto that podium with a gold medal in 2021.
He got. Megan Tapper down to
Megan Tapper, exactly.
Well.
She won that bronze as well. With his guidance as well as her coach initially at the time overseas, and so much more. We saw Akil Stewart with Rochelle Clayton, a bronze medal in the 400-meter hurdles. Here, Shanique Osborne looking to make her mark as well through Brian Lavelle. For me, I credit her already because of what she did with even Elaine Thompson era.
Yeah.
Delana Kennedy, we could not ask so much more in that 400 meters, if we're being honest. The boy had a broken foot last year, for example. And each time he has competed, except for today, he has gone a personal best. So I think, giving credit to Walcott again and Craig Sewell, and I hope Craig will know now a lot more sprint hurdlers will be coming to knock on his door, because that's what success is attractive. And that's just the truth of it.
So 5 medals at the World so far, Daniel. From your optimistic standpoint, you went as high as 16, right?
Yeah.
So are we
He had
still...
said 8, but we can get 16. That's what he had said?
Daniel is the practical guy who said 8.
Right.
Okay.
And then the optimist would say 16.
Right.
It might not get there. I think we're.
But this was what this.
No, as in, I don't think we're going to get to 16 as the optimist.
Okay. So we'll get to Daniel's practical.
Yeah,
because the drugs wear off now.
No. I think we are in the 8 to 12 range.
I don't see us exceeding 12 like I told you, but yeah.
No matter what, I mean, I'm still on course.
Yeah, but Daniel, seriously, 16 medals? Where?
Remember when you said it, you were like, what? You were so stunned.
And again, that's what I'm saying. It is from an optimist view.
But optimist, you're going to kill people.
No, that's why I'm very practical.
Fair enough.
So I just made sure that I laid out my
Understood.
8. And if you want to be optimistic, you go there.
Yeah.
That was literally from 0 to
100, right?
Yeah, the fentanyl wear off now, so we're good.
So what's your adjusted figure?
I still think we are on course for at least 8.
Okay.
We probably finish as high as maybe 11, 12. Because, for example, after seeing what the men's 400 meters men have done, I see them probably sneaking maybe a bronze. It would still be difficult because what USA I see as the favorites, Botswana, what they're doing, it's hard to see them, but I think that there's an opportunity there. I still have Shanika, even though Yulimar Rojas just. I thought she would.
Her come back?
I thought she would come in. I thought she would come in rusty, but.
So we're going to talk about all that, right? But before we get to what happened in the jumps, let's talk about Rusheen McDonald, because you made a statement the other day. I think you're kind of quoting what Stephen Francis said about what? You don't know what
you're going to get from one day to the next.
From one day to the next.
Listen. Let me put that into context for a lot of people who might not know. In 2015, in Beijing, Rusheen McDonald ran 43.93, and it took him almost 8 years to get back to 44.03.
Yeah, it did.
A couple of seasons ago.
When it shouldn't have, based on projection.
These championships, well, first of all, he should have run 44 low at the national championships. He didn't, because inexplicably he slowed down 15 meters from the tape. So he runs 44.38 in the preliminary round. And he comes to there and runs 44.04. He did say that he plans to run 43 at these championships. But it seems as if the theory about not knowing what you're going to get from one day to the next still applies, but in a different way. Because he did say to us today that he's going to win it, or he's going to be on the podium. We just saw Botswana run 43.61. Does Rusheen McDonald improve that much to get onto the podium based on what we've seen so far? It seems increasingly plausible.
The thing is with Rusheen, and again, I'm going to quote our good friend, Hubert Lawrence, may he rest in peace. The love and admiration that Hubert had for Rusheen was next level. I mean, mind you, he doesn't put any athlete above any other. Mm-hmm. But the level of respect he had for him, you would think like how most Jamaicans would deal with a Usain Bolt, for example, just to provide the context. And despite, we know his shortcomings, and I think by now the entire nation.
Yeah, and he's had challenges with injury as well.
Yeah.
And an accident.
And I think that's one of some of the issues, the injuries. But because he isn't one of those athletes that's very consistent, I think sometimes the injuries that he suffers, it gets swept under the carpet.
Is it only injuries though? Because a lot of individuals probably don't know who Rusheen McDonald is in terms of his approach to not only track and field but to life in general. So in regards to his consistency,
and a lot of people don't like that. People take issue with when you just what's a word?
Carefree, not necessarily careless.
Yeah. And it's not even that he's carefree. He just chooses not to fall in your full.
He doesn't conform.
A lot of times, and people take issue with that in Jamaica.
I honestly think that he's on a spectrum.
Well, I was wondering if anybody was going to say that.
Yeah, well, it's what it is, obvious. I mean, well, I'm not an expert, but my
because
conversations
he did analyze Oblique Seville as probably having but anyway, we'll talk about that later.
No,
but you were saying.
But So I think what it is for him is instinct.
Right.
He's clearly talented, but being able to manage that talent comes from within as well as the structure that you have around you. And his inconsistencies over the years, I think, have been more physical than anything else. Because people forget about this major accident that he did have, where his car actually exploded after it ran off the road. And he was injured. He had a back injury that held him back for a number of years. And, because he's what now, 31 or something
31
like that?
or 32.
Yeah. So he's had a long history of challenges.
And with that same back injury, which Leighton is speaking about, it came with the calf, the hamstring, the back, so many things.
It's an issue. And even last year, he had an issue with his Achilles, I think, because of the running shoe that he was using was creating an issue for him. So he's had a number of challenges that people have not been aware of because he doesn't talk about it.
Right.
And people don't talk about it. They spend a lot of time criticizing him and ridiculing him, yes. Yeah. But he's an extremely talented sprinter and he doesn't articulate very well. But the thing about what Rusheen does is that in moments like this, he brings forth, especially when he knows that he's in good shape, he brings forth the talent that we rarely ever see from him.
But
and that's the challenge.
And again, for me, the concern which many people will have, and it's really justified, we saw two good performances now, Daniel, from the qualification to the semi-finals. Will we be able to get back that Rusheen in the final? And that's okay for them to have that concern. Yeah. Because again, in that final at our national championships, Rusheen clearly should have gone 44-4.
Easily.
Right? He knew it. It didn't happen where it's behind us.
But he slows down and he goes.
And, but again, and I hope that was the lesson for him. He's very confident and he's also quick. And I keep telling people, if you watch this guy, whenever he runs 200 meters, I think Hubert have that only disagreement with Stephen Francis. In the question for the program.
Yes.
Neither Glenn Mills, because the people him have the results. But he constantly says, I wonder what he would do if he should delve more into running, some 200 meters, because he's really quick. So one of the issues he suffers from, sometimes he goes really quick for the first 200 or 250 meters, and then he blows up. Or he is a little conservative, and then he tries now to go for that last 250 meters. And the field being sometimes of such high quality, he's left behind.
And that's why I think this was probably his best executed race as an athlete. Yes, it's not his personal best, but to think about the field that he had that also had Richards and Patterson in the race. Right. He had a decent 200. It's not like he was around the back. He managed to keep pace. Then when he got to that 250, he started to create that little gap, and he just didn't seem to ease up from there. So you're hoping that when he gets into the final, that he's able to execute in a similar way. I think it's going to be tough, especially knowing that when it comes to a final and you're in that type of field, you might say, all right, no, I have to change my race strategy because this person is here, so I might have to go harder in the 150 and hope that it takes me through. But I think if he goes in with the same mindset and execution that he did in this particular semi-final, who knows?
He said the 43 is coming, and based on what I've seen from him so far, I have no option.
I'm really hoping for that though, Leighton. I'm really hoping for that.
He's going to have to run 43 if he's on the podium because the Botswana athletes and Nene look absolutely ridiculous.
They do.
To say
they
the
really
least.
Do. Yes.
Let's talk about Nikisha Price though, and the fact that she did a season's best today to advance to the final.
But
only just. Only just.
I think Sydney pulled her out of her race model. And she paid the price.
As she does, Sydney McLaughlin.
Which is one of the reasons why I think it's so important for athletes to remember, you stick to your own race plan. Amber Anning, if you remember, it was just last year that both of them were on the Arkansas team together, that awesome four-member Arkansas team that set the NCAA record in the 4x4 with Kayla Ann Brown, and I'm trying to remember who the other person was. But the thing about it is that she's clearly in shape, but there's no reason why Amber Anning should have got past her that late in the race, which means that Sydney probably took her out of her comfort zone. But when they run 48.3, that tends to happen. Yeah. But I think if she goes into the final and sticks to her own race plan, I think she'll do well. I don't think she will medal because what we saw from Sydney today and what we saw from Salwa today, and we know Paulina is going to be in lane 9, so she's going to run.
Like a crazy woman.
I think for Nikisha, if she gets to 48 high or something close to her national record of 48.5, I think she'll consider the season a success. Because I think based on the big three in that race, unless one of them falls up badly, she's.
It's a tough ask.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very tough ask. I mean, right at this moment, not even Paulino or Salwa know if they can even get the goal. Because when you look at the robot, as one of my friends called it.
Alien.
The alien.
The wonderfully
Sydney.
delightful alien, yes.
Yeah, 48.29. And the thing is, her running style is very deceiving, even over the 400-meter
Kind of
hurdles.
reminds me of Michael Johnson, I think.
Right? Yeah, because she travels so well, so you sometimes don't realize how fast she's going.
Yes.
And that takes proper training.
She
and
said it
just
today. She didn't realize she was going that fast.
When she crossed the line, she was shocked and looking at the clock like, what?
Can you imagine breaking Sandy Richards' record, American record?
Right.
That's insane.
So, in an event, that's not really her pet event,
Not
right?
really. It isn't her pet
It
event.
isn't. I mean, when you're a 4 hurdler, you don't even know what to say about the 400 because both help help the other. But just to put into context about what our Jamaican will be up against, Sydney, Salwa, who's looking really spectacular, Paulino, and the rest of the field.
You just need to look
good.
You need to look at your lifetime best. Paulina 48.17 at the Olympics last year. Salwa 48.14 was the third fastest of all times. Paulina the fourth fastest of all time. And Sydney now is in the top 10
7
or top 7 in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking at. That's what you're faced with going into the final, even though you run a season best of 49.49 and has a personal best of 48.5. Even if she was in 48.5 shape now, it would be a struggle.
Stacy Williams ran into a brick wall in her heat. I mean...
Yeah, mistake again.
I don't know how to explain that. I'm not sure if you can, Daniel.
It's tough. It was always a tough ask for her to probably try and make it into the final. She had a great heat, but sometimes when you go up against that type of lineup, you as we mentioned, that's why I was sort of impressed with what Rusheen McDonald did, because despite what was in his heat, in his semi, he was still able to execute a good race. Whereas I feel Stacy probably felt that this lineup was a bit too much, so she felt that she had to do a bit more. She was at the start of it in thereabout, but after that she just lost it, and I think this is a learning moment for her. She's had a decent year where she's managed to improve and show some quality, so she can take this into maybe 2027, work on a few things, and we'll see what it does for her.
There's a couple of things. Let me just make this point quickly. There's a couple of things that I think went wrong with Stacy, or that resulted in Stacy not doing as well in this semi-final heat. She ran a personal best in the heats, right?
It's a lot.
It's hard to replicate that. When you just run a personal best, it's hard to come back with another one again. And the other mistake, I think, so that's from a physical standpoint. From a tactical standpoint, I think she made a mistake of going out too hard. She, at one point, she was actually leading Salwa in that semifinal.
Yeah, which says a lot.
Which says a lot, because
I admired the initial bravery, but I knew it would have cost her.
But it was going to cost her, and she came into the final 100 meters in second, and then faded to third, and then faded to fourth, and faded to fifth. The reality is that she should have stuck to her own race plan, like she did in the heats.
Yeah.
And she would have probably had a better outcome.
I agree. I think, which was what I was, about to say, Leighton, which you said it perfectly. People don't understand. Remember that it's running every other day in the 400 meters. Yes, this is what they're conditioned for, but neither of, other than Sydney, who now ran that national record, U.S. national record today. When you run a personal best in a 400 meters, mostly any event, but we're talking about the 400 meters because it's a tough sprint. It's a long sprint. It's not considered middle distance. It's a long sprint. And for her to have gone sub 50. I think she will walk away. Of course, she's going to be disappointed. Who doesn't want to be in the final? If once you're in the final and you finish 8th, you make money, at the World Championships, first and foremost. But, just wanting more for herself. But when you leave a championship and you would have ran a personal best, something you have been yearning for on your CV, and you have gotten that, and you took some bravery as well. Some will say, oh, you shouldn't have done that. But you never know what can happen. And sometimes you have to play catch me if you can. And she gambled. It didn't work out.
But catch me if you can against an athlete.
I don't think
Please
it was
catch me if you can.
thinking of Salwa only.
Well, not a good idea.
I don't think it was about Salwa, but more so maybe the rest of the field.
Yeah, what I think would have been a better strategy for her is to see where Salwa was and hold her own pace. Because she knows what Salwa is. Salwa goes out hard all the time. You have to catch her. Paulina does that very well, but not very many not very many other people can do that. So hold her own pace and engage where she's at against the rest of the field. Yeah. If she had done that, I think she would have had more energy coming home.
All right, so let's now transition to the triple jump and what Shanika Ricketts and Keelia Smith actually did in advancing to the final. Daniel, talk to me about their performances and how do they look?
Shanika Ricketts did what she needed to do, 14:30, to get into the final. We obviously know that she can get to 15, even just over. Keelia Smith, after going in the long jump, making another triple jump final like she did in Paris, 14:21. So both into the final. I think it will obviously be a tougher task for Keelia than it is for Shanika. Shanika is going to have to put together a good series of jumps because after seeing Rojas, obviously, the two Cubans and Povea, it's going to be hard. I saw her as one of the practical medals in the triple jump, but I think that she's more than capable. I don't see 15 high winning the triple jump this year. If she is able to get into the 14.8, 14.9 region, then I think she should get on the podium, but it's going to be tough.
You agree, Trish?
Yeah. I think each time that we see the distances and, based on her season's best going in, sometimes it scare us a bit. Mm-hmm. But again, time and time again, I don't remember when it was. We even had her, not we as in you and I, just going into a championship. No one thought she would have medal, and I think she walked away with a silver. Again, the field events can be tricky because it requires consistency throughout the series. And when I say consistency, even if you have a foul jump, you need great moments to separate yourselves from the others. Will she be able to do that to get onto the podium? It's not impossible, but following this morning, I'm not sure. She's there. Can she get there? No doubt, because she has done it multiple times. But it will be tough. It's not impossible, though.
I'm not optimistic at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
And why that is that, okay, Shanika's gone over 1450 about 4 times this season. Mm-hmm. But in her last 3 jumps before the World Championships, she's only gone as high as 1430, a mark that she met again today. When you look at Povea, when you look at Taylor Fond, when you look at Perez Hernandez, and Yudamar Rojas, I don't... Yeah. In terms of her performances leading up into the championship, normally when Shanika is running up into a championship, she starts to jump far, 14.6s, 14.7s.
But there's been a plateau?
Yeah, that's not happening this year. So I'm worried about even the foul jump that she had today was barely over the automatic qualifying standard of 14.35. There are Jasmine Jones, 14.40. There are so many athletes right now who are jumping a lot better than she is. And, of course, Rojas, who's coming in after 2 years out of competition and hitting the qualifying mark, or exceeding the qualifying mark on the first jump. It doesn't augur well. it doesn't argue well. I could be. She might very well turn it around for the final, but as of this moment, I'm not optimistic, and I'm usually when it comes to Shanika Ricketts because I think she's one of the most consistent performers we've ever had.
Yeah.
But this time around, I just don't see where it's happening.
Let's talk about the 800 meters now quickly, Daniel, because two of our athletes are into the semis for the first time on the men's side. I think it's the first time it has happened that two Jamaicans are in the 800 meter semis, and we are talking about Navaski Anderson as well as Tyrese Taylor. A bit of a surprise that both are in.
Not necessarily a surprise for me. I think Tyrese has gradually improved throughout the season. We know that Navaski as well has moved from has moved from that 146 to get into that 145, 144. So I think both seeing the heats that they had, to me, I think that they were always destined to get into that top four. So it's really a great day. I know it's not easy to talk about an event and think that, oh, can these men get into the final, because we know that the 800 meter is still a work in progress for us here in Jamaica. We haven't had that success at all in this event, but I think this can be the start. These are two very young men who are doing well in the college circuit, and they can use this as a platform, try and get a personal best, and then see where that takes you from here. But for us to have two men in an 800 meter semifinals is huge.
Yeah, already felt like a winner the minute both men were able to get that qualification. So, I mean, I'm not always the easiest sports fanatic to please. Mind you, Daniel will disagree since I support Liverpool. So I'll say it before you say it late. But for me, we're our track and field, and I'm speaking specifically about Jamaica. We are of a population of about 2.8 million people, but we're very powerful in numbers. We're powerful as people in sports, and there's nothing I love more than seeing athletes performing well in the non-traditional events that Jamaicans are very fond of, which is the 100 and the 200 meters. Sometimes I'm like the 4, but they're a sprint. That's why we're called the sprint capital. Even now, our Jamaicans are not fully warmed up to the field events, for example, but they're getting there. They have an appreciation for it. Now, to have two men in the 800 meter semifinals, which at least one can maybe get into the final. We don't know. We'll have to run their hearts out, but that is for competition day. What this does isn't just for those two men with a taste of success. We'll look to improve next year and into the next World Championship and Olympic cycle. This now will tell youngsters, because people don't understand, we're having a problem. Leighton and I, yourself, Daniel can tell the nation. A lot of athletes are running events that they shouldn't be running, even in high school. A lot of our athletes are capable of running good 800 meters. But because no shine no depende, you find a lot of times they become turned off from the
fact
event.
that they don't want to do the work.
They don't want to do the work.
I spoke to Seymour Newman a few years ago when he was coaching at home with Technical High School.
Yeah.
As you know, Seymour Newman held the national record before Navaski Anderson broke it a few years ago. And he said that nobody wants to do the work. You have to be running. Look, what's her name from England? Keely Hodgkinson.
Yeah.
She runs about 35 miles a week, which is low for the average 800 meter runners.
Yeah.
You needed to be running 70 miles a week easily. Not many Jamaicans want to be able to do that. Navaski has committed to it. Tyrese Taylor has committed to it.
Yeah.
So they are now the new leaders. I mean, nobody, they've moved on from the Seymour Newman era to now Navaski Anderson, Tyrese Taylor era.
And I think
they're
this will
setting
help.
a new bar.
I think this will help.
Tyrese Taylor, the first Jamaican below 144. Navaski consistent at 144 in an era where 142 is carrying the swing. So they're getting there.
Yeah.
But both are young enough to be making that kind of progress. I suspect that I'll see Tyrese Taylor run maybe 143 low or 142 high by next season. Navaski similar, because they're making that consistent progress. Navaski from 144.6 down to 144.4 down to 144.18 at NACAC Championships. He ran comfortably at 144.7 today. So you're seeing where the progress is being made. Does that mean that others will follow? I think it has to come down to a commitment from some of these 49 400-meter guys who will never make it beyond 49 to maybe think about running the 800.
Yeah, and a lot of our athletes, I'm telling you, he and I, we have had the conversations multiple times at stadium, among other things, which, this goes, because then the people in the find out say, people like me now have a problem with athletes going to Turkey. But I'm just saying that it's an invitation. No, but listen, you have to know the era in which you're living in. Mm-hmm. You have to know young people. The more you understand them, the better it is. Especially our Jamaicans. We just sometimes need to see one person doing it,
Yeah.
Remember with our field events, initially we had Dorian Scott in shot put,
Yeah.
Jason Dads Morgan in the discus too.
Mm-hmm.
Then, once we had Banji, Frederick Dakers and others, O'Dane Richards, coming on the scene and started, just
and winning medals.
And winning medals, it became a thing where, I wanted to do that. Melaine Walker, Dean Hemmings won gold medal in the 400-meter hurdles in 1996 in Atlanta. It took us a long while until Melaine Walker started making that event attractive again. People knew about the 400-meter hurdles because of her, respectfully. So I'm just saying this could be the start. I agree with Leighton, and I think we all can agree that the 800 meters is a tough event to train for. It's a tough event, everything to prepare for it, because the mileage to put in, sometimes we lack the resources. But I think this just might be the start of a dream for many young aspirants who like or love the 800 meters.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the fact that they run 70 miles a week. I'm not sure if I will walk 70 miles in my entire lifetime. So
that's not much, no. That's only like 14 miles a day.
He's a walker, Yeah, he's a walker.
Yeah, I can tell. Having said that, let's talk about Beckford for just a little while, because it was a little bit disappointing that he couldn't clear that first height, 2.20 meters in that high jump final.
For somebody who's cleared 2 meters 30 and has gone as high as 2.26 this season, I'm actually quite shocked that he didn't advance, or at least not in the competition up to a level, because we're in an era where the high jump is not at the standard that we're used to seeing, especially in the last few years. I keep mentioning Barshim, who is not, Bondarenko.
And they made it fun to watch.
Yeah, and these other guys were jumping like 240 or 238 upwards. The standard is not there anymore. So 226 is not going to cut it. 230 is not going to cut it. But still, the standard is not where it used to be just a few years ago. So it's kind of disappointing that our two high jumpers weren't able to meet those minimal standards. But I think it's a work in progress, because both are still young, still relatively inexperienced at this event. So let's see what happens in the coming years. But for today, it was very disappointing.
We're going to have to wrap up in short order, but there are a couple of things that we need to talk about in terms of happenings off the track. Akira Nugent and Oblique Seville. I'm going to start with Akira and what she actually posted on social media in a statement today. A lot of people might think I need a new coach or new management, but when a great athlete is not feeling the sport and not trusting the process as much, it makes it hard. I'm grateful for the people that the Lord has blessed me with this season, because I'm a walking testimony of it. I keep working on my personal growth and my relationship with God. I'm also content and proud of how this season played out for me, for everyone who reached out and had me to medal. I don't lose hope. When the pieces are placed together, I will be back better than I left. But I have to put my mental and spiritual health in order. It was a long statement that was written on her Instagram page. I'm not sure if there's a lot of clarity in it, but I think we get the essence and the spirit of what she was trying to say to her fans and her supporters and those just observing her progress in this sport. And Daniel, I'm going to be going to you first, because we speak about the mental health of athletes on so many occasions. And this year, for Akira Nugent, yes, she became the Diamond League winner. But are you a little bit surprised with what she has said now about her thought process she almost quit the sport. She almost wanted to just say enough of this because she wasn't in love with the sport, as she has said in the statement.
It's hard to find athletes who do sports actually in love with the sport. If you hear how a lot of them speak, and even after retiring, they see it as a profession, like many of us see our professions. Not that I don't love what I do, but I think because the sport itself is quite ungrateful. You will prepare literally 11 months for a goal and an objective, and it doesn't happen. And I think what happened to her in Paris might be part of why she felt the need to say something like this, because to crash out of that final was not easy, and then coming here after having a great season to not make the final, much less, we obviously thought that she was a podium contender, but to not even make the final, that's tough on her. So it's obviously going to be down to her. I think it would be very important for her to see a sports psychologist, because we know the potential she has, and obviously she knows as well, which is why she's saying that she needs to get her mental and spiritual health in order. But I don't want her to, again, like I mentioned yesterday, don't take it necessarily as a failure. I think everything in life is a lesson, and she's still extremely young. If she was 28, 29, these thoughts may somewhat be understandable, but she's still growing in the sport. She is arguably our best sprint hurdler. So she just needs to work on a few things in how she executes her race, and then I'm seeing the sports psychologist, and I think that she'll be a force to be reckoned with in the future.
I think she's conflicted. I don't think she understands what being in love with the sports mean. Because you know why I say this? Because if she didn't love the sport, she wouldn't have broken down in tears when she get to the final. She wouldn't have broken out in tears when she got bronze at the World Indoor Championships. That tells me that you have a passion for something. What she's feeling right now is disappointment. And you get these reactions from her at the Olympics last year when she crashed out of the final. You get this reaction now where she didn't make the final. She's disappointed, and it hurt. And it's not about her not loving the sport. It's about her not being able to embrace what she perceives as failure.
She would say that she said what she said, though.
Yeah, no, she will say that because that's what she feels, and that's what she's articulating. But I think if she steps back, and remember I told you that she's a vibes runner. That's when to break that vibes runner down, that characterization, is that she functions on how she feels and how when she participates. If she takes away the emotion from the performance and locks in on what is required to be done and become objective about her goals as opposed to being emotional about her goals, I think she'll be fine. But she has to find herself. And I think what she says, of course, as I said, it's not a lot of clarity in what she said. But I think what she probably needs to do is to, as I sit down with someone, maybe a sports psychologist, maybe a mentor, and have a conversation to unpack why she's feeling the way she's feeling, and how does she then emerge on the other side of that, being the professional athlete that we know she can be. It's going to probably takes a while, and it's a good reason why next year is an off year in terms of championships, that she can find herself, find what she really wants to do, and then make a decision going forward. But I don't think she doesn't love the sport, because if she didn't love the sport, not get into the final, she'd probably walk away indifferent, like, okay, big deal, been there, done that, let's move on. But she broke out into tears, meaning that it means something to her to not being able to advance to the final. It meant something to her to not be able to complete the final in Paris last year, right? You saw her break out in tears when she won her first global medal at the World Indoor Championships. Those things don't happen to people who don't love what they do. But she needs to find clarity. That's what I think she lacks right now.
Your thoughts on this, Trish?
I think it's whenever you're disappointed, your emotions are all over the place, and that's whether a man or a woman. And the sport is tough. It's a tough sport. And when you train and you prepare and you get injured, for example, and then you are not able to compete, or you get a chance to compete, especially like I said, for example, Daniel Williams, knocking hurdle number 2, simply couldn't recover as the defending champion. You feel betrayed by something you love. And if you feel betrayed by something you love, you think it doesn't love you back. And, you start to have several questions, you have doubts. And I hope that, again, she will see this as hurdle number 11, and she'll get over it, and whichever way possible, whether through help, with rest as well. Rest is also important. Not often they get to rest adequately. And rest is something that many Jamaicans take for granted. And she will bounce back.
And as I said, these are teething pains. Almost every athlete goes through these experiences where, look at Oblique Seville. 3 major championships in a row where you were expected to medal and you fall short. But here he's bouncing back as world champion now.
And let's just transition to Oblique Seville because, as you mentioned, he has gone through a lot of adversity, and a lot of us would have attributed the fact that he wasn't as successful as we would have liked him to be, down to something that was psychological or performance anxiety, as Leighton had alluded to a couple of days ago. His coach has come out and said that it has nothing to do with his mental state. It's because he was injured. And as we said in the show earlier, at the top of the show, we spoke about the fact that he's set to do toe surgery in the coming weeks after the World Championships, of course. What Glenn Mills has said, does it put into perspective a little bit more the journey of Oblique Seville these last couple of years?
No, but what he said is exactly what I've been saying. If you are not able to produce what you know you can produce, you start to doubt yourself. You start to doubt your own ability to produce the things that you know you can. That's performance anxiety. That's what makes you nervous when you go into competition thinking, is what happened the last 3 years going to happen again? Because this is becoming the norm. This is becoming the trend in your career. So you start to doubt yourself. And that's mental. That's not physical. Right? So when we're saying, and he said something after the 100-meter final where people are saying he's mentally ill. Nobody's saying he's mentally ill. What we're saying is that performance anxiety is a mental issue that you need to deal with. If you're mentally ill, you're down at Ward 21 on Windward Road. You're out by University of the West Indies. The fact is...
Oh, you know the address?
I've been there. The thing is this. We have this thing in this country where we conflate mental help or assistance with being mentally ill, meaning that you're crazy.
We stigmatize it.
Yeah, it's not that they're not the same. Some of the best athletes in the world, Novak Djokovic, Federer, Nadal, some of the best athletes in all across sports, employ the services of sports psychologists because there are times when you need reinforcement. There are times when you need to unpack things. There are times when you need clarity that someone who's trained to help you in this way can help you. If you're sick, you go to the hospital. If your mind is not right, meaning that you're having doubts, you're having moments where you're not trusting your own ability, you need someone to help you to get back to that pathway where you then, okay, your mind and your body is in sync. That's what it is. So nobody's saying Oblique Seville is mad or going crazy or need to be in a straitjacket. We're just saying that sometimes when you're at this elite level, every advantage that you can take by employing the services of people who can help you to get there, there's nothing wrong with that. But we keep, as you said, we stigmatize sports psychology as being schizophrenic or bipolar or just completely crazy or psychopathic. The fact is that they're two different things entirely.
You know, I applauded him for speaking out with his doctor, Dr. Hamilton, because, you know, I had the discussion yesterday with Dion Jackson Miller regarding that. And I said to her, in 2020, when I did the story about mental health, the initial plan I had with doing that story, I had to revamp because I wanted to speak to current athletes, not specifically track and field. I then now had to get former athletes because several of the current athletes that were competing, when I contacted them, it's not that they were telling me no, they didn't want to. They told me no out of fear of the criticism and the backlash they would have received from John Public in Jamaica to say, oh, you're too weak. Because, again, like you said, the stigma that surrounds it. So
Hold up your stress, I think, was a famous quote that we heard in recent
Hold up your
months.
stress, my dear. But I think that, where we are now, again, and I applauded him for coming forward with Dr. Hamilton. And I hope other athletes will take a leaf out of his book. Big up to Sharika Jackson, who has spoken out several times about, when she had to quickly run to her mental health coach, sports therapist. So it's a thing that's needed. Naomi Osaka, if anybody follows tennis, she has made it public. I don't want to do interviews. Sometimes people suffer from anxiety.
Yeah.
And again, athletes really connect their performances with who they are.
Yeah.
When they haven't been taught sometimes, that's why the help is also necessary, to separate the athlete from the man and the woman.
Yeah, and sometimes I realize that athletes, they tend to make certain decisions, like cut off journalists as friends and stuff like that. So
which is good. We're not their friends.
Yeah, I totally agree, which is why I really don't hold it against them at all. But Daniel, I want to hear you have the final say on this matter in regards to Oblique Seville. Coach Glenn Mills has said that he believes that he will improve dramatically after fixing this situation, this physical situation.
Yeah, and what I will say, for somebody who was in need of toe surgery to run 9.7 and become a world champion, to me, I think that just shows how far he's come. And to also get to that stage that, as we've mentioned, to get over that performance anxiety, hoping that after he comes back from this surgery, he's still at his sharpest. We could see Oblique Seville becoming maybe as fast as a 9.6 runner in the future. So we're just hoping that everything continues to go well, especially with his recovery, because we know sometimes surgeries can go wrong, or the recovery process, but it's great to see that he's able to get the help that he needs and still be a world champion.
Well, we're looking forward to the future of Oblique Seville and all our athletes, but Jamaica celebrating silver and bronze in the 110-meter high hurdles. Congratulations again to Orlando Bennett, who picked up the silver, and Tyler Mason, of course, a much-deserved bronze medal earlier today. But that's a wrap on the Sports Club podcast. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and share all the clips that you see around social media with your friends and family. On behalf of the hardworking production team and my good friends here in studio, it's not as cold as it was in previous days, and I'm sure
Thanks to
they're
Daniel.
absolutely relieved of that.
Almost
But it almost he's fine now. It's goodbye for now.